joining us again this month for Boys and Girls Club's Clubcast. I am your host, Marissa Gleockler, and I'm so excited to be joined today by our very own club teen, Miss Mia Morrison. She has a extensive resume. She's involved in so many different things throughout the county. She is currently our 2023 West Side Club Youth of the Year, and she's also our 2022 State Youth of the Year winner. So she's got a lot to talk about. So we're going to dive in. And first, I want to know how you originally got involved with Boys and Girls Clubs and how you ended up at West Side now.
My journey with Boys and Girls Club is very long. So as you know, I've moved to Fort Pierce 9 years ago, and I've lived in Fort Pierce for 7 years, almost 8 now. And my mom was just looking for an after-school program, so she enrolled us in our Boys and Girls Clubs a little bit down the street from us, Garden Terrace. So when I was at Garden Terrace, I was like an ordinary kid at first, and then all of the staff there, they became mentors to me and the other kids, and that's when they told me about the Youth of the Year program. So I started as a junior Youth of the Year, and my brother was Youth of the Year for Garden Terrace. And after that, when I became a teenager, I went to Percy Peak Teen Center, and since then I've been offered a job at Boys and Girls Club, so now I work at West Side and I'm a member there.
That's awesome. So you're at the clubs all the time.
Yes.
That's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned that the staff at Boys and Girls Clubs Garden Terrace became like mentors, and then you went to Percy Peak, and now you're at West Side. So talk to me a little bit about your mentorship experience and what it's been like to have those staff kind of lead the way for you, and what those relationships sort of looked like, how that affected you, all that good stuff.
The staff that I've had the opportunity to meet with were amazing, and I've always had mentors. It doesn't matter where I go, I will always have mentors with Boys and Girls Clubs. So when I started, I was having personal issues with my father, and he kept coming back and he met us at Boys and Girls Club multiple times, even though we didn't want him to. And our staff there, especially Mr. Austin and Mr. Matt, they would always protect me and just like keep me in a safe location, just like give me comfort and solace when I was not okay. Because I remember times when I was crying, I was having a breakdown, I was not okay. I was like 10 years old, but they didn't hesitate to show me that they cared about me. And they were very supportive. They even supported me and my mom throughout all of our struggles. And even when I went to Percy Peak, Miss Rashida and Mr. Javon, they were so kind to me. They prayed over me, and they really helped me get through hard times. And even now at West Side, Miss Cynthia, she is so similar to me. She's like the sister I've always wanted. So all the time I just break in her office, and I'm just like, hey. And I just tell her everything, and she's just always there for me, the good and the bad, and she just helps me get through all of my struggles currently too.
And that's awesome, because a big part of what Boys and Girls Clubs try to do is provide a safe space for youth of all ages to have those mentors and have those relationships, because that's, we believe, how it all starts, you know, that's how it all goes. And I feel like through the Youth of the Year experience, you've now gotten to have mentors from outside of the clubs and community partners and things like that. We were just talking a little bit about your training that you've been doing for Youth of the Year and some of the coaching, and talk to me a little bit about those relationships.
My most favorite coaching relationship has to be Miss Barbara and her husband, George. They're just wonderful people, and she always told me one main thing: visualize. It doesn't matter what you feel, what you're going through, you know what your end goal is, so just visualizing yourself winning that and achieving those goals will help motivate you through that. And I've had a lot of times where I've struggled with my motivation and keep going with all the things that I have to go through and deal with. She's just always constantly helping me motivate myself. And sometimes her husband will visit Boys and Girls Club, both of them together, and they're just a power couple. And they're very inspirational, and they've helped me a lot.
And so from jumping around from club to club, I'm sure you've been involved in a lot of different activities going on in the clubs, a lot of different programs. One in particular, our Keystone Club, which we don't get to talk about very much, and it's one that is growing day by day. So I do kind of want to hear a little bit about, and you know, let the audience know what Keystone Club is all about, what kind of things you guys work on, and how you got involved, and you know, talk to us about that.
Keystone is an amazing part of Boys and Girls Club. It's actually my most favorite part besides Youth of the Year. And Keystone is basically a youth-led advocacy, leadership, fundraising, and educational-based club as part of Boys and Girls Club, and it's made me who I am today. So when I was part of Keystone was mainly when I was at Percy P, and what we did there, we had fundraisers like car washes, big parties, events for teens, and we also recruited more teens with those events as well, and we raised money so we could go to the Keystone Conference, hopefully soon. And that entire process, we had to plan it out ourselves. We had to set up everything, do the purchase orders. It taught us how to be leaders, but at the same time taught us logistics and how to actually define details and go forward with big events. Because usually we would come up with ideas, adults would plan them, but this actually let the teens themselves do the entire process. So I remember doing blueprints for this big event for, I think it was spring break.
Okay.
Fall fest. It was a fall fest. I remember making blueprints and doing the Amazon wish list, and when everything was bought, we had to open it, set it up. I remember doing s'mores with the other teens in a toaster oven. It's just really fun getting those experiences and also going out in the community and meeting other leaders around you and learning from them. So that mentorship and outside experience is important too.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is how did you reach the community? Did you guys physically go in the community and talk to people? Did your club staff help you send out flyers? Like, how did that work?
Both, actually. So our club staff would set up meetings with outside vendors. So they would take a group of us Keystone leaders and take us out in the community, especially maybe even the radio, to visit City Hall, set up internships for us. It was a really great opportunity, and they would also bring local Children's Service Council representatives to come visit us and talk about different opportunities they have. So we can be very diverse, but also just learn a lot from the people in our communities.
And you mentioned that Keystone is a component of Keystone is advocacy.
Yes.
And I know that last year you got to go to Washington, D.C. with a small group of club teens for BGCA's National Advocacy Days. And that's coming up again this year. So I want to hear about that experience, and I want to know what kind of things you guys did up there, because I know you had a jam-packed itinerary.
We did.
Yeah, so what kind of activities did you guys do? Who did you guys get to meet? I know you got to talk in front of some people, I believe. Like, talk to me about that.
It was a great experience. The first thing I remember is we went to a hotel, and the majority of the event was placed in that hotel. So all sorts of Boys and Girls Clubs from all over, from Central Florida, Georgia, Greater Washington, all of them were just all centered there.
Oh, wow.
And certain clubs, they had a little project that they had on poster boards, and they were all showing each other the different projects that they've been working on. So we got to learn from them. And guess who the mistress of ceremony was?
Who?
Ashley Biden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Apparently, I didn't even know this, but Ashley Biden, she's an amazing person, and she really loves Boys and Girls Club. She's been working with them for 20 years.
Wow.
I did not know that at all.
Did you get to meet Ashley Biden?
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Not many teens can say that.
And she organized a tour for all of us in the White House.
Wow.
It was just an amazing experience. And we each got to go with our specific clubs. And since we're Florida, we got to partner with all of the other Floridian groups, and we got to meet with Brian Mast and his representatives, and then Rick Scott and a few other members. We didn't actually meet some politicians, but we did get to meet with their representatives, and they shared so many opportunities with us and part of their stories, especially College to Congress. So college students can go to Congress for an internship and learn about how to be better advocates in their communities.
So when you see, teens and your peers and friends, and you guys are all going and doing these trips, how do you think that impacts teens? And like, what do you see as the importance of, Boys and Girls Clubs participating in trips like this? How do you think that affects a young person's life?
It's extremely important, extremely important. Especially for young kids in Fort Pierce, a lot of them are struggling either with their family lives in school or financially, so they don't have the ability to go out and travel. their families don't take them to go travel somewhere fancy and broaden their like mindset. So it's actually scientifically proven, but when a young child who has only seen a small aspect of the world gets taken somewhere completely different, it opens them up, like their brain, their hearts, their mentalities. So it's just a world-class experience that every child deserves.
I think just to go outside of the county, because sometimes, you know, all you know is what you know, and you don't even realize, like you said, there's opportunities for young people to go intern at Congress, or, you know, it's crazy to think about. You never hear about these things unless you go experience them. So that's really awesome. And I think too that part of that, we have an extensive workforce readiness program at Boys and Girls Clubs, and we try to introduce teens to different paths, different futures, and that's another introduction to a different type of future. One of the paths is, of course, college, and I know that you developed a college readiness program for teens. So I want to talk about that. Was it just for Boys and Girls Clubs teens, or was it for your community at large?
It's for everyone.
Okay.
Everyone at all, because I have a history of being a perfectionist, so I have to have everything perfectly laid out, organized. And I was at work one day, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be hard to go to this school because I plan to go to Embry-Riddle, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I made a list of scholarships, and I was telling Miss Suzanne about it. And she was like, you know, not many students do that. Why don't you make like a little list for all the other kids too? So that's when I went to work, and I'm like, students don't really know about the FAFSA, Bright Futures, and all of the other things that they need to do, in addition to all of the other scholarships that are available to them that they don't really apply for. So I made an entire program document going over everything that they need to know as high schoolers, but mainly seniors. It's not just scholarships, it's how to do the FAFSA, how to identify scholarships, you know, the checklist. Are you a minority, low income? Do you get free SAT waivers? What are you going through personally? Are you a victim of, doesn't matter, like cancer, autism, or a war or a veteran's child? So everything has a certain category, so that program that I made, they can analyze themselves, and it's all categorized so they can see, okay, I'm eligible for this list of scholarships, that list of scholarships. Even if you're not low income, there are some for general students as well. But it also shows how you can make yourself a better leader in your community and get scholarships from different extracurricular organizations like youth leadership. So it shows how you can make your passion, see what do you go through personally that you want to help other students with, and developing that into a passion that takes you onto an entire track of leadership, and that's going to propel someone much farther than just simply applying to one thing.
My goodness, Mia, where were you when I was in college or trying to apply to colleges? And I had no idea. I'm the oldest, so I was the guinea pig kid. You know, we didn't know what we were doing. So that's amazing. And I'm sure that a lot of other teens will benefit from that. And so where does that go? How do people find that? Do they just reach out to you and you give them everything you know?
I try to spread the word as much as I can. I know I sent it to Ms. Cynthia and all of the teen club directors. I did have certain sessions with Boys and Girls Club teens, so at Westside and Percy Peak, going over everything with them so they can start applying for it, prepare for it, especially with our seniors at Percy Peak, making sure they actually sign up for the FAFSA, get all the documents ready, Bright Futures, and certain scholarships that are catered to them. And for the rest of the people in the community, I know a lot of people at LPA and different schools, so I try to email it to everyone that I can think of, or just check up with people like, hey, what was that major you were doing again? I think I have some scholarships for you. You should definitely apply, because they're all ordered by either eligibility or by the deadline, and now since it's already the middle of February, everything is starting to have a deadline very soon. So I just want to make sure everyone gets it out. I also send it to my school. Hopefully they're sending it out to people as well. I just want to make sure everyone has an equal opportunity.
You're bringing like a guidance counselor, you know, vibe to Boys and Girls Clubs, which is pretty awesome because, you know, a lot of times we can say, there are these colleges, there are these great opportunities, and we try to introduce as many of them as possible. But to have a document with the links and with all the information, that's so helpful. And I'm sure so many people would benefit from that. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
And I know that on top of all of the busy things that you're doing, you found time last year to organize a civic forum where you introduced club teens to local government. So talk to me a little bit about that.
That was something that I've always wanted to do. I've done something similar with the Faith in Florida nonpartisan organization a year prior for city commissioner. But I just know that a lot of young people, they don't really like government or police, and there's just a really big gap between them. And a lot of young people in the community, they're like complaining about their needs, their wants, things that are going on, but they're not really addressing it to the right people. So that's why I wanted to have the Civic Engagement Forum. So we had especially Donna Mills that works in the school district, and then Arnold Gaines who works as a city commissioner. All of these people that can address your needs, whether it's with the school system, whether it's with the general Fort Pierce community as a whole. So whatever they feel that needs to be changed, they can just say their concerns. And they actually shared their story, their entire background from when they were little kids to show that they're just like them. And they bridged the gap. So I felt a very strong connection there. I just sat in the back for half the time, and I felt a very strong connection because they were asking questions, they were speaking their voices, and that's really inspiring for me too. Because as much as I can speak up about the things that I'm going through, I want to encourage more young people to speak up about what they're going through, because we're not all the same. Everyone battles something differently and wants to speak up about something. So I just want to give everyone an opportunity to actually get that out and know that they can reach out to these people at any time.
Well, that kind of perfectly leads into Youth of the Year. But before we talk about that, I did want to ask you about the youth leadership, St. Lucie County, because I know that you're heavily involved in that. And you've got an upcoming pinning, I guess you could call it. You're becoming the president of youth leadership. So that's amazing. Another thing to add to your many accolades. So talk to me about what that is all about, what your focus is, and how you got involved.
Youth Leadership is a youth-led leadership group focused on advocacy, education, and leadership. It's an amazing group, and it's part of Children's Services Council as well. And I wouldn't be in it if it wasn't for Boys and Girls Clubs. Miss Kim just showed up at Boys and Girls Club and started this entire presentation, and I was just hooked, so I already signed up for it. And it was just an amazing opportunity, because since then, we've had many opportunities to volunteer at Mustard Seed, do park cleanups, learn about each other, and habitudes. So we learn habits and attitudes and put them together. So she's actually teaching us how to be better leaders and better people in our community and help us grow as individuals. And with that, we get to find our own passions. And you know, mine is mental health and now education as well. So we get to explore our own ideologies and passions with the other members of our groups.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that you're working on a big project to help showcase mental health resources in the county. So you don't have to go into too much detail, but talk to me a little bit about how you plan to reach other teens in the community about mental health.
Mental health is very stigmatized, or rather mental illnesses. And when people talk about it, they just shy away. I used to be like that too, but now I'm trying to open up more about it, or encourage other people to talk about what they're feeling, what they're going through. And just telling people about resources that are available in the community, that's not really encouraging them to take part in it. So what we're working on is a short film, maybe 3 to 5 minutes or less, about mental health, but more of a performance. So when people see it, because people are always on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, watching videos of short skits, and then they find things interesting. That's how they learn, especially me. So when they see something very informative like that, but for mental illnesses, and then they actually see, oh, okay, I can relate, because it's for youth, by youth, and it's just a big performance showcase so everyone can understand this is what it looks like. This is how you can recognize it, and here are some resources to help you get better. You don't need to tell anyone about what you're going through, but maybe you should. It doesn't have to be a parent or a counselor. You can just reach out to your friend, ask them to check up on you, just make sure you're okay.
And I know you've already started the conversation throughout the county so much surrounding mental health, not only through these many amazing things that you've been working on, but also the Youth of the Year program. And a lot of people don't know what Youth of the Year is, and they don't understand necessarily the advocacy component. You know, you have a platform, yours is mental health. So talk to me a little bit and inform us a little bit about what it takes to be a Youth of the Year, what all goes into it, and what you had to do to prepare for it.
Youth of the Year is a beautiful but very long and hard process. And it's a competition based on leadership, passion, and your goals and activities. And it's all centered around Boys and Girls Clubs. Who can advocate and represent Boys and Girls Clubs the best, essentially. So when you do the Boys and Girls Club program, you have to write 3 essays. One about your club experience, what matters to you, and a personal struggle that you've been through and how you overcame it. And then you have to write a cover letter, a resume, and then a speech, a 3-minute speech that encompasses everything, which you have to memorize and deliver to hundreds of people at a time.
Yep, no note cards.
None.
And the panel.
Yes.
So you have all kinds of things being thrown at you, and you have to really represent yourself, your club, and your community, because not only last year did you compete at the St. Lucie County level, you also competed at the state level and won, and the regional level. So talk to me a little bit about that experience and how you plan to, you know, go even further this year.
At first, the St. Lucie County experience, I'm very used to that because my brother did it, I did it before, and it was very normal to me, especially since I'm so used to the community and the mentors that I have around me. States was different. Unfortunately, it was online, so it wasn't as different than expected, but going on, it was just unique because the judges, they were kind, they were respectful. I did the interview, and it gave me such hopes and positive energy.
Yes.
I was very surprised when I won because I know we've had a history of, you know, coming like just there, second place. I was very surprised, and I knew who would be the runner-up or who would win because Sarasota, you know. But it was such an amazing experience. And when we went to regionals, that was beyond anything I ever expected.
And you got to go to Atlanta for that one, right?
That was my
So
first
another
time
trip.
going there.
Wow.
And honestly, the only places that I've ever been to is because of Boys and Girls Clubs. And when we went to Atlanta, everything was taking place in the hotel and in a separate building. We didn't have enough time to actually tour the city, but the entire event was just amazing. It was in the aquarium.
Oh,
huge
yes.
aquarium.
That aquarium is so cool.
It was amazing. And we all took turns, and we went and we did our performance. We did our speech and our 15-minute interview, and we got to know each other. We went to Papa John's, and we worked in teams building pizzas by hand, the dough especially. That was fun. But we got to learn about each other, and I was very surprised because I saw a lot of people that looked like me, that had similar backgrounds, similar passions, and each of us have a different story, but it's very unique. And learning from other people, I made so many friends there. And today, I still have those same friends, and they're supporting me, encouraging me on my journey. Most of them were seniors, and they're encouraging me to step up and do it again this year and go much farther than I did last year.
That's amazing, and I think it's really cool that you said that the majority of places you've traveled is because of Boys and Girls Clubs, which leads me to where you get to travel this year through Youth of the Year. And over spring break, you and the other 3 candidates will be headed to Guatemala in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, St. Lucie County. So tell me about that. Are you excited?
Definitely excited.
And you guys get to build, from what I understand, you're going to be working on behalf of an organization that's very similar to Boys and Girls Clubs in Guatemala.
Like a school.
Okay.
That's what I know for sure. But tomorrow night we have the official meeting where we find out all of the details. And it's great because coming to America, you know, that's like the land of opportunities, and Boys and Girls Club is just everything all at once. And especially the fact that we get to bring one of our parents too. So now my mom gets to experience that as well. And going to Guatemala, I know they have a lot of tourist things, everything planned out. And you know, I grew up in Jamaica, so Guatemala is not very different. So we get to have very beautiful cultural foods. We get to climb mountains, I hope. We get to travel everywhere.
You're just like, I'm going to drop the hints now of what I want to do for the meeting tomorrow. Okay.
I'm just really looking forward to this, especially because everyone is under stress nowadays, especially with school, Boys and Girls Club, extracurriculars. Guatemala, going to Guatemala during spring break, that is the perfect relaxation, but also working hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about relaxation, but it'll be a
Yeah.
fulfilling trip for sure.
It will.
Have you ever done anything like that, a mission trip type?
No.
That's awesome. I'm very excited for you guys. I'm a little jealous, but it's okay. I'll have to see all the pictures and live vicariously through all of you. But that's so cool that you get to do all of these experiences because of Youth of the Year specifically. I mean, Boys and Girls Clubs have provided things as a whole, but the Youth of the Year program really does allow the candidates to get out of their comfort zone. Even just locally, you just did the Leadership Day where you got to go up in a plane thanks to TMX Aero, and you got to shop at Nelson's Family Farms. You got to do so many cool things that a lot of teens don't get to experience. And I think that just makes you even more connected to the community and sets you up for success. So are you ready for this year's competition? Because that's coming up.
I'm ready.
So talk to me a little bit about how you're feeling. Is your speech ready? I know you mentioned you changed it a little bit from last year because it was winning last year. So are you ready for this year?
About my speech, I've changed it like 15 times. I'm constantly changing it, but now I've refined it a bit, especially since it's less than 2 weeks away. I am about fully done. All I have to do is just keep practicing with my mentors, practicing my speech and my interview. I have my outfits ready.
Oh, that's
All I have to do is just walk in, perform, and that's it.
And you actually got to go pick out your outfits?
Yeah.
So you got to go shopping with Boys and Girls Clubs and the Youth of the Year Committee, thanks to Sarah Pride, Leslie Kristoff, we had Tracy Yotis, Gabby Simpson, all these people chiming in to help get you guys ready, looking the part, very sharp. And that's such another cool experience that you get to just kind of add to the Youth of the Year checklist.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know about the event, the Youth of the Year 2023 St. Lucie County competition will be taking place on Friday, February 24th at Treasure Coast Lexus. It'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. You get to hear the hearts of 4 incredible teens. We really do engage the entire community throughout this event, and it's just the most moving event. It's how I got involved with Boys and Girls Clubs. It's how a lot of people get involved. And you get to see the hard work that the clubs are doing with the teens every single day. And you kind of see the culmination of all the years that these teens have been in the clubs, whether it's from middle school on or first grade on. You see the whole culmination of the program come to life at this celebration. So we know that Mia is going to do an incredible job. We have very high hopes. I know you do too. And if there's anything that you could say to someone who might be considering coming to the event, what would you say?
I'd say definitely get ready to cry and be amazed. It's going to be a great opportunity.
It does get a little emotional because you get to hear the hearts and the stories and the platforms, and we got to hear about, your passion for mental health and your journey, and, you do that 4 times over. So it does get emotional, but it's so incredible to see. There's music this year. We've got a DJ. I'm pretty sure we've got a band. We've got hors d'oeuvres and all these things. So it's really an incredible event, and one that we hope you all come to. One more time, that is on Friday, February 24th. It's the Youth of the Year celebration taking place at Treasure Coast Lexus, and we hope to see you all there. Thank you.